Thank you very much. I've done that, number one, because you are tired. And I'll take no more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much. Let me start by acknowledging that the theme of this gathering has been properly captured by Professor Mary, Professor Jean-Emmanuel, my good friend Joshua, and my very good sister Natalie. And it adds no value to repeat rather than to reiterate. Mary told us we must reclaim our spirituality. Today, when you travel across the continent of Africa, we are suffering and laboring under spiritual confusion. We are the most religious continent on earth, and I want us to make a distinction between spirituality and religion. I've said it before, and I say it again, we cannot achieve through theology what is to be done through technology. We can pray and fast all we want, but the divine instruction was by the sweat of thy brow. So we must remember that we as a continent must do that. And that means that our resources, human and natural, must be harnessed by us. When we talk about reclaiming our families, Professor, I hear you to be saying that the culture and the spirit of Ubuntu must be given its pride place. So that when I'm traveling to Cameroon or Nigeria or Ethiopia, I need and should need no visa. I should move. That is what is going to give practical meaning to a continent that can realize our potential. When I listened to my brother Joshua, you told us we must think, because the mind is the standard of the man. We must feel, we must be compassionate, and we must soil our hands, the 3 H's. Africa must do that. We must do that because it is ironical, it is paradoxical, that we are the richest continent on earth, but yet we continue to punch below our weight, politically, economically, socially, and otherwise. It is a situation that must not be allowed to continue. We must not be dictated to. I heard you, Joshua. And you, Jean-Emmanuel, I heard you when you are telling us that when they tell us we are poor, African economists, look to what McKinsey is telling us, what Moody's is telling us, what is happening in the New York Stock Exchange, not what is happening in the stock exchange in Nairobi or Johannesburg. We must change our ways, and we will only be heard, and the law of the jungle is what governs human relations. Survival of the fittest and the dying of the least suitable. That is still the law. I've said it before and I say it again, that we cannot be a continent whose agenda is controlled by others. And I heard you when you said we must define who we are. Who are we? Who are we? And I heard you, Natalie, telling us that we must know what we want. I do not know whether it's we Africans who misunderstood Jesus Christ, that we must live like the birds of the air so we don't think about tomorrow. We must think about tomorrow strategically. You go to Korea, they know what they want 50 years from today. You go to Japan, they know what they want. You go to China, they know what they want. But in Africa, what we want are the next elections, so that we can replace a set of hyenas with another set of hyenas. We must stop that. And the beauty of the situation, as I conclude, is this, that there is an awakening in the continent of Africa. This is the beauty. The beauty is that today, when I listen to the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, she speaks to me. When I listen to our kith and kin in Jamaica, in St. Kitts and Nevis, in Martinique, in Guadeloupe, they speak to me. When I listen to our kith and kin in Costa Rica, the Garifuna, in Nicaragua, in Colombia, there is a coming together of our people wherever they are. And that tells me that something new is happening. When I hear the invocation of the names of individuals that had been forgotten, when I hear the moderator reminding us of the oracles of the past like Bob Marley and the exhortation to us of Marcus Garvey, of Sylvester Williams, of John Henry Clark, all those in the diaspora, it makes me happy. So we have organized for too long. The time is to organize now. And the beauty is that we know what is happening. All these good men and women, some of whom I'm meeting for the first time, I met you a long time ago, courtesy of technology. If they could do it in 1950s, in those difficult years when there was no communication, how much more can we do it? And you know, Jean Emmanuel, you know Joshua Maponga, you know Mary Getui, you know Natalie Yam. You, Joshua, when we sat and we talked of the 7 things, the 7 spirits that continue to hold us down, what I ask of you, young men and women, is that you must exorcise those ghosts. It pains me today when I see that English and Spanish football is what preoccupies us, and cheap Mexican soap opera, La Mujer de mi Vida, is what preoccupies us. We must liberate ourselves, because the mind is the standard of the man. When you see what is happening in the Sahel, it tells you that there is a new spirit that is coming about in Africa. That spirit which I've seen in the last few months, the French kicked out of Mali, of Niger, of Burkina Faso, of Chad, and even the reluctant La Côte d'Ivoire. Something is happening. My sister, something is happening. The African Union, which we know is a toothless bulldog,
Facts.
will give it a new set of teeth.
Facts.
That it may allow the continent to speak with one voice. Already I know out of Lusaka, Zambia, a new pressure group called the African People's Union has been created. And the idea is that we are going to put fire under the bottom of existing African institutions, to put it literally and metaphorically, that they may not rest. The time is now. And And I believe this Pan-African spirit, and you, Paul, you have done a good thing. You have done a good thing because you have put us together, and this conversation is the conversation that will continue. And we must ensure that we create our own things. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be done. It must be done. And we are the very same who are going to do it. Our duty is to stand up and to ensure that we keep on shouting and doing, because action which is unwedded to words is without merit. It is John Henry Clark who famously said, we can say black is beautiful, but what is black beauty without black power?
Yeah.
I'm suggesting to us that we must be beautiful and powerful at once, and we must choose our friends carefully.
Yes.
In other words, as was said in 1960s, we are non-aligned but positively neutral. We are looking neither east nor west. We are looking forward, and we are going to do it. This Africa that I see is a good Africa. And it reminds me of the words of Ngugi wa Thiong'o in his book, The River Between, when he tells his character, Wayaki, go ye and learn the ways of the white man, but come back and use it for a good. It reminds me of the words of Chinua Achebe when he says that they are young suckers that will grow when the old bananas die. You are the young suckers. Africa is going to be great. Thank you very much.
I will make, sorry. Most of you are here because you are passionate about Africa. You know that things must change. You know Africans are not where they should be, neither in the countries we inherited from colonization, nor on the continental level or on the global stage. But every time I travel, there are always one or two Secret Service agents in the room. Because according to them, I'm a threat to the interest of their masters. So let me say habari to them also, wherever they are.
Sure.
Okay. We've heard enlightening contributions so far. And I would like to thank Paul Ela and the team of the Pan-African Awards for organizing this conference, as well as my co-panelists who were sharing their knowledge with us. But let me now try to add my little brick on the wall of the 21st century Pan-Africanism. We are in a very interesting geopolitical moment. The NATO-Russia war in Ukraine, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, kicking the French army, the French media, and the French diplomats out of their country and creating a new confederation, the AES, the Alliance of the Sahel States, the genocide of Palestinians in the Middle East, and the return of a sheriff to the White House. Donald Trump's return is shaking global politics. He is slapping hefty tariffs on his allies. He is demanding that they foot the bill for the American protection. And he is sidelining Europe to zero in on China and the Indo-Pacific region. His America First agenda is forcing Europe to rethink its strategies. And that could spell opportunity or disaster for Africa. So I want to start with having a look at what I call the Panama Canal playbook. Because for me, it's a very stark lesson for Africa.
You have to do for self.
I'm sure you heard that earlier this month, something happened in America after Trump's return. The Panama Canal, the USA paid $40 million to a French company that had started the project but failed. They paid Panama a mere $10 million upon sealing the deal. And what's interesting in that deal is it was signed between the then Secretary of State of the United States under Theodore Roosevelt, who was John Hay, and a guy called Philippe Barilla, a French guy, an engineer. He was not mandated by the Panama people, but he was the one signing the deal for Panama. Sounds like familiar, isn't it? Yeah. So they then spent a decade, so between 1904 and 1914, to carve the canal. And then for the next 85 years, they paid Panama $250,000 annual rent. It's a pittance. So at some times, obviously, Panama's authority were fed up. So they renegotiated under Carter's rule, that was 1977, reclaiming the control and the ownership on December 31st, 1999. Fast forward to 2024. Panama's netted a whooping $3.45 billion from the canal in only 1 year. Can you compare it to the $250,000 that they were getting before? I mean, let that sink in. Trump now says that the US should never have given Panama back its canal. What is his logic? He said, we built it, we own it, and beside that, we don't want China anywhere around, benefiting from our past investments. Now, apply that to Africa. Think about it. Colonial powers named a lot of our countries, of our capital cities, our rivers, our streets, our mountains. They built our railways, ports, roads, bridges to serve their own interests. But with Western economies in trouble right now, Europe could use Trump's logic to justify reclaiming its Africa creation. I've put the quote on creation, arguing that they don't accept being kicked out while China, while Russia, while Turkey, while Iran are benefiting from their past investment. And make no mistake, Donald Trump will approve if we are not acting fast. Another thing happened in February, 5 days after the Panama Canal thing. It was on February 7th. Donald Trump cut the US aid to South Africa. I hate